calling ambulo luku. With whatever we do, Jioni safu no la. With whatever we do, haleyi demunyu skula. Nyepamne nekulukula. Nyepangi ragala gena. Nyepamne nekulukula. Ibuloke nongoto ni beti sola. Ibuloke dato ni betoto.
Bigi Congo.
Lamin.
Na?
Lamin te jibe norin te nyamen Lamin.
Kabona wulo kono.
Wulo kono nyinte mo Lamin.
Pabilenki.
Muna ngata afongole.
Haina.
Ngata. Ngoto le. Fabrama.
Mingi. Baba nyola.
Ngoto le Fabrama.
Namu jumala kan kuma ni ten.
Fabrama.
Jumala mu.
Ndele bare muso.
Nunda mana.
Famo kata.
Jamani mbere.
Alindo ko.
Jamani.
Bari ngoto mon kontande.
Bari jamani fana na mundu ma mon kontan.
Ngoto minaka ngala min je fom filitala. Lamin jibe nori nyala.
Lamin ila siran sama ne benki. Yala so tol sayni no ko ngol ko momo.
Ngoto.
Nam.
Itedinte yalo ne Lamin hakilo diata bake karamungoto. Anu santeng ministry ko di ngole si suwo ko amanke ko do holiday
si bitun
Bagona ringa.
ala ni ko kede namo balo
ala ni na ko na karta bulo be dam ala ni je
ngoto
nam
ngoto mon kontan fere
jamani mu ne keda
ite ka Lamin ki wulo ko no nyintay mon ko do fete malo Lamin nyanta sila la be la moy kala karango
jamani karamol be soron ne ko fasita wulo ko nako
karamol ma ko ni ko karamol soron da amanke comme holiday lem ngoto dini ngo nyanta sila la ala karango la moy yamen kamen fue man kontan andamande
alla nyin kombo courant adan dal kombo len to la jankara mol le soron dal kamen courant ma dal lo kombo e don dol fana kara mol soron je kara mol soron Lamin ada lo nyino la man tara fe na sokon ala mu nekela
am Lamin ite fo de malon ko lesinol be ke kar radio to
Nga fine.
e ko nyadi mo Lamin ya mu na fonye
kabim bina kan tambita nteri maning Fatu tambite la sukala ala diningol bebe siri be la moyka
Faru danso am fana tambita jele ni subala la ngaje diningol be jet talanta nen kili warol e be serin jele
sa Lamin fadante ku kili wo ke no la ba Lamin bitaka wulo ko no nyinta mo Lamin
aman dara fenela
ite dine ko di man si yakari la suno la moy radio to balon na
mu ne ka ke afonde ba nyara ni alon
telentel jikot
afonde ba mu de be ke
ite balon tel be jikritel ni man karambe ku kele yaje nata karana mbasa malaya ay tarije
par ñarande kombo courant ho findira kombo ide na raje den sonka bay ko Lamin manya tala wulo ko kara mo be so da fa membe
ko to wole nati bayo ngalle ni Lamin kuntala kombo courant o ka fa me kombo courant asototal wala kinay ko e si suwo kono bari ni ko e si suwo kono be karangol di ke la radio lin telel to hani tele masoto to nyaay man tele soto la bungo bar radio be bulen koto batiri sanga ay si ay alamo
sa do kala
nyaadi ko ta o bulaji
ado kala nyaadi
kamun ke nyaadi
radio abe wala mo la be mona falaje
ibe la karandirol kala jele
ti talle be radio ko men ka karandirol
ila subjector baby jele baby jele
wala nan ka coco moy fa dan so wolya ngom metambi ka nga dinni wolje be ikadum bungo ko kada farmo
a sototal de
Lamin mala be kara wala de
bari
laftalal ideal on ko inde every year second wala fourth
muna ni ko ma ko ndego folle sinila mba ndele sinilo ne ba
say mba foke en koto wole fango yen wulindi yalo famo keta bat ñu fana bulata ko ko me yen nati jambi Lamin nyanta karana ndel be jiko be nyineka ya bulay kara wulo kana ta kilar ya bambalo yo be bulaje koto dinni ngoy si ayala le sino la moy radio
wara ka munda kara mo man soro Lamin nyanta kara si so na regular
sila le ayala le sino
ndale ko korna ko smalo
kilar ya
be ngala ko momo say mi do ni ko no kera
mengi bruzo
ndale ko la da ba rosa no radio ba no bari woro radio ni abe jele ba do ngamra do man dembe buljan dala nyara nyar wofra bu ko fendi mo la Lamin tayra ba rosa
bara te ku folo ajibe nori nya Lamin tamete ku
teku
bari ko do famo ke
ja image nañu ñambol si zol le keje kisgi man si zol no le kafun ka ñowa bari ñambu kino ni mañana ka finde ni nambe ko so la ja
ngalle limbeta de be ñambo do dilanna
ñara ni ko ridin fennat ñara nata
bari famo ke da
ngata Tami bungono ñara ngando ko fele ko ke baru nganda ni pelo la ndija
iyo a better la
bungono bismillah bisu diara
pendulala ye fongo tanka sina dolu tanka koro ta koro ta
Hello viewers and listeners. Here we are once again on Science LBS. I want to welcome you all back. Today the topic is the excretory system. Our topic is the excretory system. The excretory system. The excretory system is the one that we're going to look at today. But before we go into the lesson, our last session, there was an assignment that I gave you, of which you are supposed to submit today. And I hope you have all done your work. The assignment was in this way. Draw the diagram of the respiratory system and label the lungs, nose, mouth, ribs, and diaphragm. So to be precise, this is the track of the respiratory system. This one is the nose. This is the mouth. This is the windpipe. These are the lungs. Left and right, you can write lung, L-U-N-G here. You can also give here L-U-N-G, lung. And this is the diaphragm, D-I-A-P-H-R-A-G-M, diaphragm. Then here on the one that is covering the lungs, the cage where you have the lungs, there are series of bones connected to the backbone, series of bones connected to the backbone. They are called the ribs. They are called the ribs. They are the ones that are protecting our lungs and our heart. The lungs and the heart, they are found here. They are series of bones connected to the backbone, right from your chest cavity. So these are the organs that you were asked to label. That is the nose, the mouth, the windpipe, the ribs, the lungs, the two lungs, one on the left and one on the right, and then the diaphragm. And I hope you have done it like that. Check yours and see where there is a problem, you rectify yourself. Then we move to the topic proper, or the lesson proper, that is the excretory system. The excretory system is the taking out of unwanted substances or harmful substances from our body. The removal of unwanted substances or harmful substances from our body is what we call the excretory system. Can you tell me what substances do we remove from our body that are harmful? Yes, there are substances that we remove from our body that are harmful. One of them, carbon dioxide. The second one, sweat. When we run around the field, our body removes water. That is what we call sweat. 3, urine. These are some of the harmful substances that are in our body that we need to remove from our body. It says when people sweat, urinate, or breathe out carbon dioxide, they excrete. When you breathe out carbon dioxide, or you sweat, or you urinate, you are doing what we call excrete. That is the removal of the unwanted or harmful substances from our body. Right? And 3 of them are carbon dioxide, sweat, and urine. This process, getting rid of substances which are harmful to the body, that's what we call excretion. And there are organs that work hand in hand to make this a successful. You have 3 of them here, carbon dioxide, sweat, and urine. And each of them have different organs that helps it to remove the unwanted or harmful substances from the body. We're going to look at the first one. The first one we say skin. The skin. The skin is the upper layer of our body. The upper layer of our body is what we call the skin. It consists of the epidermis and the dermis. The epidermis is the top layer, and the dermis is the second bottom layer. The sweat glands in the skin produce sweat, which contain waste products such as salts. The skin has so many organs. One of them is the sweat gland. One of them is the sweat gland, of which we will see later. The sweat gland produces what we call sweat, water form, and it is salty. It is in a water form or liquid form, and it is salty. If you taste your sweat, it is salty. The skin is very important. That's the human skin. You can see the hair shaft. That's the hair that we can see on our body. You can see the sweat pore. The sweat pore is the outlet through which the sweat can come out. You have the nerves. You have the sebaceous gland. You have the sweat gland underneath. You can see the sweat gland is underneath the sweat pore. Now this sweat gland is where the sweat is being produced, and when the sweat is being produced, it will now pass through the sweat pore. It will now pass through the sweat pore. That is just like a pipe through which the sweat can pass through to get onto the top layer of our body. This sweat gland produces the sweat. And in our activities, it can always produce sweat, no matter whether this temperature is high or low. Certain activities, if you do them, like you run around the field, or you do certain types of work, or when the weather is too hot, we see water comes out from our body. And this water that comes out from our body is what we call the sweat. And it is usually harmful in our bodies. And this sweat, if you taste it, it is salty all the time. It is salty all the time. The body does not need it anymore. It has to come out. It has to come out. Of course, if you go through again, you can see what we call the hair shaft. This hair shaft is the part of the hair that grows out of the body. If you observe your body, you can see hairs all over your body. Underneath the hair, again, you have the hair follicle. That hair follicle is the one that produces the hair shaft. So the layers of the body, the skin of the human body is like this. The epidermis, the top layer, followed by the derma or dermis, then the hypodermis, then the muscles. These are the 4 layers of our skin. So the skin, in short, excrete sweat. Where is the sweat made? It is made or produced by the sweat gland, and it passes through the sweat pore onto the top part of our body. I think it's understood. I say again, the sweat gland is the organ that produces the sweat, and this sweat passes through the sweat pore. It passes through the sweat pore, then it comes out to the top of our body. And this water or sweat that comes out on the top of our body is what we call sweat, and if you taste it, it's always salty. The second one is the kidneys. The second one is the kidneys. The kidneys are 2. They are bean-like structures at the back of our body, on the backbone there. They are bean-like structures. They just look like beans. It looks like this. These are the left kidney and the right kidney. You have 2 of them. The liver makes poisonous substances less harmful. The liver, we have a liver underneath our lungs. You have a liver underneath our lungs. I think it could be the biggest organ in our body. That liver is responsible for making poisonous substances less harmful. Sometimes we eat food that is harmful, that is poisonous, or that is contaminated. It is this liver that helps to remedy the situation, or it is this liver that helps to make these substances less harmful. These excretory products are taken to the kidneys, where they are removed from the blood. All these, when the substances are being taken care of by the liver will pass it on to the kidneys. The liver will pass these substances or harmful substances to the kidney. When they get into the kidneys now will filter them. The kidneys now will filter them. The kidneys, they are just like filters. The kidneys will filter them, filter the substances. And when it filters the substances, like we all know, when you are filtering something has to pass through and some will remain on top. The thing that it allows to, the kidneys will filter, and anything that is good will be taken back to the body. Anything that is good for the body will be taken back to the body. anything that is in those substances that are not wanted or that is not wanted now has to be filtered down. It's no more wanted. In a water form, in a liquid form, it will come down. Now the kidneys will filter it down and store it. And store it. Where? Store it at the bladder. Store it at the bladder. The kidneys now produce urine from the waste products. Now this bladder that it will now be transported and stored to will now contain what we call urine. This will be stored in the bladder until a certain time when we will go to the bathroom and release it from our body. And this will be removed out through our sex organ. It will be removed out through our sex organ. And this urine that we remove out, like we said, is harmful to the body. This urine is harmful to the body. It has to come out. It is harmful to the body. It contains acid. It contains acid. Don't leave urine in your bladder for quite a long time. It can cause damage. We all know at night when we store too much urine in our body or in our bladder, we feel very uncomfortable. It hurts us. It hurts. Now this urine will hurt us because it contains acid and it's a harmful substance that the body does not need anymore and it must have to come out. Don't allow it to rest there for a long time. When it is there, just go and eat yourself. It is harmful. This urine contains acid and it has to come out. So that's the second part of the excretory system. Then we move to the third one. Now if you look at our diagram, you can see the kidneys. They are two in shape. They are attached at the backbone. They are leading us. You can see the kidneys after filtering the substances, taking the good part of what is in the substances, then the good part will go back to the body. Then the rest of the substances that is not good, that is harmful, has to come down to the bladder. When it gets to the bladder, it will now come out finally through the urethra, through our urethra or sex organs, and finally to the pit toilet or whatever. But like I said, it's acidic, it's harmful, so it need not to be stored there. We cannot lose our bladder, but we can always lose control of the bladder. Like sometimes in our class, you can see so many of us going to eat themselves so frequent. It's all because of the ureters and the ureter. So when we keep this urine all the time, too long in our body, it is going to cause us more harm than good. Then the third among the excretory system is the lungs. The lungs, like I said earlier in our previous lesson, they are balloon-like structure. They are spongy structures in our chest cavity. They are two, left and right. They are connected to our nose and mouth by a lung tube called the windpipe. They are responsible of taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. The air that we breathe in, we call it oxygen, and the air that we breathe out, we call it carbon dioxide. Now these lungs, they are in our chest cavity here. They are spongy. They look like balloons. They receive the oxygen through the windpipe during respiration. This oxygen dissolves in water lining in the lungs during respiration. And what will happen? Now these dissolved substances now is going to join the blood. These dissolved substances will join the blood. The oxygen is carried by the blood to all parts of the body. Yes, we know that. And after which, as a result, carbon dioxide is being produced. That carbon dioxide that is being produced after taking in of the oxygen is now the waste product. The waste product of the oxygen that is taken in has to come out. It has to come out. The oxygen is taken in. When it is being transported by the blood to all parts of the body, up to the hair, then the waste product of this oxygen has to come out, which is known as the carbon dioxide. And this carbon dioxide is no more wanted in the body and is harmful in our body. We should not keep it in our body. It has to come out. It is removed out of our body or expelled out of our body through our nose in normal circumstances or mouth. We can breathe out using the mouth, but under very difficult circumstances, because it must have to be our nostril is being blocked. When our nostril is being blocked or we are suffering from common cold, that's the time we resort to mouth. That's the time we can resort to mouth to breathe out. So the lungs, they release what we call carbon dioxide. The skin, the skin is one of them. This is the first one that releases the unwanted substances from our body, which is known as the sweat. We can say the skin releases sweat, the kidneys releases urine, and the lungs, they release carbon dioxide. And the lungs releases carbon dioxide. These are the three substances that are not wanted in our body: sweat, urine, and carbon dioxide. These three has to come out from our body. So the products that the harmful substances are sweat. Sweat is produced by the skin. Urine is produced by the kidneys. Carbon dioxide is produced by the lungs. If you look at our diagram, that's the diagram of the lungs. So we have an exercise on board here. It is saying, copy and complete the following sentences using these words. Copy and complete these sentences using these words. Number one, copy and complete the following sentences using these words. The words are sweat, carbon dioxide, and urine. Sweat, carbon dioxide, and urine. We are going to use these three to complete these statements. Number one, the lungs excrete dash from the body when we breathe out. The lungs excrete dash from the body when we breathe out. That is, when we breathe out, what do the lungs excrete among these three? Sweat, carbon dioxide, urine. So we say what? Try on your own. All right? So the possible answer is carbon dioxide. The possible answer here is carbon dioxide. Number two, the kidneys excrete dash from the body when we urinate. The kidneys excrete dash from the body when we urinate. That is, what do the kidneys excrete from our body? The possible answers are the answers are sweat, carbon dioxide, urine. The answer is urine. Then number 3, the skin excrete dash from the body when we sweat. The skin excrete dash from the body when we sweat. When we sweat, what do the skin remove out from our body? When we sweat, the skin remove which among these? Sweat, carbon dioxide, urine. It takes out sweat. Our answer is sweat. So these are the 3 answers. 1, the lungs excrete carbon dioxide from the body when we breathe out. 2, the kidneys excrete urine from the body when we urinate. 3, the skin excrete sweat from the body when we sweat. These are the possible answers for the exercise. Check against your work. Good. Then we finally move to the assignment. I'm going to give you, I have 2 questions that you are going to answer before we meet again. The 3 questions are: 1, what do the kidneys produce as the waste products? What do the kidneys produce as waste products? Number 2, what taste is your sweat? What taste is your sweat? If you don't know it, go around, run around the compound yard until you see sweat coming out. You put it on your tongue and taste it. You will tell me. Number 3, what is the byproduct of oxygen in our body? What is the byproduct or waste product of oxygen in our body? I need these answers. I want you to answer this before we meet once again. Right? So I'm expecting your answers before we meet again. Until then, I say bye.